Continuing the conversation about collaboration and strengthening our sector, our next panel will highlight the ways that industry and organizations work together to support aviation. So it's my pleasure to introduce Rick Leach, President and CEO of GoJet Airlines, and also a former RAA chairman, board member, and dear friend. Rick's a driving force behind our next panel, Partners in Progress, how industry organizations strengthen regional aviation in the industry. This discussion flips the usual narrative, and it highlights how leading organizations actively support and advance the regional sector through initiatives, partnerships, mentorship programs, and other talent pipelines. And these are critical efforts that support the ongoing success of our industry. Rick will in turn introduce an incredible lineup of panelists, bringing together voices from the National Gay Pilots Association, and that's Justin, Ellison, Andreas, the Organization of Black Aerospace Professionals, represented by Dr. Theodore Johnson, Rotary to Airline Group, represented by Joshua Lee, and Women in Aviation International, represented by Lynda Coffman. So please join me in welcoming our next panelists.
Okay. Are these on? Let's see, where are we going to sit? I'm going to sit here. I got neck problems, so I'll be able to see you sometimes. I'm going to set a timer because people always say I'm long-winded, so before fate throws something at me, I'm going to try to set a timer. Oh my gosh, it's, first off, I'm not usually the one that's moderating a panel, so this is going to be new. You're my first. How's that? You're my very first. So I got to turn like this. My neck's really screwed up. So, let me tell you, I am so excited about this panel. Now, I knew these organizations all existed, as most of the airline CEOs probably know they exist, but I really wasn't introduced to them. I understood that our airlines all go to these, and they're really very fertile ground for finding just amazing talent to help breathe life at Rotary. So I knew that we recruited there. I saw the checks coming across my desk. I know how much we spent to do that stuff. But I'll tell you, I hadn't gone, and I remember the first one I went to was 3 years ago at Women in Aviation. It was the most exciting event I ever saw. So I'm speaking to all my airline CEOs, and I'm also speaking to the other industry leaders out here, because this is a missed opportunity for those folks that aren't airlines that support us, because you need the same kind of industry talent. So I'm hoping this is an introduction for you to participate and use the kind of conferences they have as this amazing, vast resource of information. But I went to Women in Aviation, and there were literally thousands of people there. I'm talking about 3,000 to 4,000 people, from little girls, little kids, even the boys came. It wasn't just women, they brought the boys too. That all people that were aspiring aviators. It was the most exciting thing. The excitement I felt in that room reminded me why 44 years later almost, I'm still in this crazy business. Because I don't get to breathe the fuel and hear the engines roar as much as I did when I was out there on the ramp and really the mix of the operation. But these folks are the future. And these organizations that I'm going to introduce you to today help the health of our industry in so many ways. They mentor and plant seeds early on at the childhood level with girls in aviation and other organizations, where they're in the elementary schools and the middle schools and the high schools and the colleges, finding folks that are planting the seeds that you too can achieve this in all of these groups that are sometimes very underrepresented in our industry, right? And it's an opportunity for us to continue to make sure that our workforce represents those that we serve. So I could not be more honored to be with all of you. I've been to all of your conferences, and participated and spoke. So turnabout's fair play, you know, you gotta go here, but it's really, really, really an honor. So I'm gonna give you the opportunity to tell us a little bit about yourself, your journey in the industry and aviation, sort of about your organization, sort of what you see as opportunities with what you do, sort of what your mission is, and how you currently today interact with industry and airlines. So why don't we start with, we'll go ahead and start down here at the end with you. I'm sorry that you're in that role there, Joshua, but you're at the end, so we won't do that all the time. So I was in that way in an ATR panel yesterday. I said, can you start the other end? So Josh, we're going to start with you.
Awesome. Yeah, we're used to leading from the front, so that'd be military understand that, but Rotary to Airline Group was something that was started when the FAA decided to change a lot of the rules, thanks to a large part to American Airlines, who kind of started helping move this, but decided to let military and rotary aviators change up the requirements to get into the airlines. You used to, if you were a helicopter pilot in the Army like I was for 17 years, it was starting from scratch. I would have to come out, do all my fixed wing aviation and transition. In 2015, they changed all of those rules and allowed us to do a lot of different things and shrink that hours down. I was the second person hired by the American Airlines program for the Rotary Transition Program, and none of my other military friends knew how to do it. So I had gone to a PAPA event and kind of saw that, and the regionals were starting all of these Rotary Transition programs but couldn't get anybody to apply because nobody knew anything about it. And so we really quickly worked with a couple of the regional airlines, and then ended up putting together a little, what we thought was going to be a very little convention, if you will. Had all the airlines from the Rotary side, or the regional side, start out, and we had 750 people show up. Did not expect that, and got the fire marshal on us pretty quickly. But that really quickly, and through the last few years, we've been around since 2018, the last few years, and seeing a lot of what the organizations that have been around before us, we saw a real big lack, funny enough, of how veterans transition when they're not already ready to go into a legacy airline. So that was always an easy transition point of if you were a longtime fighter pilot or you're a longtime heavy pilot, it was really easy to go into an American Delta United. But everybody pretty much other than that didn't know how to do it. And so we saw a lack, interesting again enough, in the veteran aerospace. So we've kind of dropped the Rotary to Airline Group side. We just call ourselves RTAG. Because we're the Veteran Aviation Charity. So we help military members of any branch in any job get jobs into the aerospace industry. So it's everywhere from American Airlines to GoJet to SpaceX. So.
And Joshua, your organization has grown exponentially. These conferences went from that 700 up to, you're pushing almost 2,000 at some of these.
We've had 5,000 for the last
5,000, okay, well I usually overestimate that.
That's all right.
Yeah, I mean, at least my staff would say I overestimated. Well, anyway, that's exciting. Well, thank you for being here. And Josh, you're the president of RTAG, correct?
Yes.
Okay, president of RTAG. Okay, Justin, my friend Justin Andrews, president of NGPA. Why don't you tell us a little about yourself and your agency?
Sure.
Association.
Yes, thanks. Thanks, Rick. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Justin Andrews. I'm the executive director of the National Gate Pilots Association.
Well, I just promoted you to president.
Yeah, I've been called worse.
Okay.
Just unpopular career. Yeah, so we are the National Gate Pilots Association, or NGPA. We were founded in 1990 by a handful of pilots who met rather covertly. At that time, it wasn't safe to be out in the career force, so as crazy as it sounds, a handful of people answered an ad and agreed to meet rather covertly, only wearing an airplane t-shirt and agreeing not to share last names or any personal identifiable information. And over the last 3.5 decades, we've funny enough, come out of the closet, and we're now an organization of over nearly 5,000 members internationally. We've got a phenomenal chapter network of over 50 chapters coast to coast and a few abroad as well. And we've really broadened our horizons too, from not just pilots, but being inclusive to all people who are within the aviation industry. So similar to Josh and the RTAG acronym, well, we too refer to ourselves as simply the NGPA most of the time. We've got a great scholarship program. We were blessed to be able to award our first scholarships back in 1998 for it was 2 $4,000 scholarships. This year we're awarding almost $650,000 in scholarships. And thank you. We're really fortunate. We've kind of grown that nest egg from 4,000 to over 2.5 million. We'll reach about 3.1 this year alone. Yeah, great organization. It's been an organization I've called home since I was in college. I just got back from one of our large events in Provincetown a couple days ago, where I was sharing I've never grown up in a world without the NGPA, and I can recall when I was going through my check ride, calling an NGPA member, pacing around my mom's floor, my parents' living room floor, thinking I had forgotten everything, and it was NGPA who was there to pick me back up. And I really kind of owe NGPA a lot of my professional career. And so that is our focus as an organization, is to mentor the next generation and build community for those who are already in it and seeking a place where they can be their authentic selves and have a great time, as you know.
Yes, I do. Well, Justin, thank you. That's great. Well, our next panelist, Lynda Coffman, a very tenured, very seasoned aviation professional. I've known Lynda for many, many decades. And she's the president and CEO of Women in Aviation. So, Lynda, tell us a little bit about yourself and about this amazing organization.
Well, thank you for having me, Rick. Thank you for inviting me. It's just a pleasure being here. As Rick said, I'm very tenured. I spent over 30 years at United Airlines, and as I looked around the room and reconnected with some people, I did run United Express for a few years, so I feel like I'm a little bit back home with the RAA. But I retired from United during COVID and was really enjoying retirement until I got a call from Women in Aviation International, and it was a no-brainer for me. You talk about you don't know where you would have been without NGPA. When I was starting out in my career, I wish I would have had a WAI, Women in Aviation International, because it really is, these organizations provide so much support and mentoring and giving you like a home, a tribe that you belong to. I'll tell you a little bit about Women in Aviation International. I was involved with them when I was at United Airlines, and now I'm just so honored to be the CEO of just this stellar organization. We are the largest organization that supports women in aviation. We are 20,000 members strong. We've been around for 36 years, and we are an organization that supports women in any area of aviation that you want to be in. And we support women, girls and women throughout their entire career. So we're not just about pilots. We have pilots, we have air traffic controllers. I was really interested in the panel and the comments that were being made about workforce and training and staff with the air traffic controllers this morning. We have mechanics, we have astronauts, we have engineers, lawyers, accountants, finance people, HR. So we support any career that a woman wants to, a girl or woman wants to pursue, if she wants to pursue a passion in aviation. Our vision is that we envision a world where the sky is open to all, where aviation and aerospace dreams are possible without barriers. And that's what we're about. We're about removing barriers. If you have the passion and the desire to go into aviation and aerospace, we tell all girls and young women, you can do it. We provide all sorts of programs from grade school all the way up through retirement. So we also have a scholarship program, which I really like to call almost the backbone of the organization. In the last 15 or last 30 years, we've awarded, through the generosity of our funders, over $15 million in scholarships. And we have a scholarship program that runs every single year. We have a mentorship program. And that's based on technology that uses AI to match up the right mentee and mentor. We have internal job postings. We have professional development, education. We have an Aviation for Girls program. So this weekend is actually our International Girls in Aviation Day, where we have girls come together throughout the entire world, and they have a day in aviation, and they're hosted all over the world. We have about, right now, 195 events signed up, and we have over 40,000 girls that are enrolled to participate in this weekend. And that is a very inspiring, we like to inspire the young girls, and if they're interested and have that spark, we have a whole program for young girls, all the way through scholarships, professional development, mentoring, all the way up to if you're mid-career, you're on your way to the C-suite. We also have a partnership with Harvard University's Continuing Education Business School, where we have an Emerging Leaders program that women can apply for and attend in Cambridge, Massachusetts. So I could go on and on. It's a wonderful organization that at the very end of it, if you think about how we need to support women going into aviation, it's about the members. It's all about supporting our members, but the end game is the future and the health of the aviation industry. This morning we heard about, the funnel's got to be big up here. The only way you're going to get the funnel big up here is not to exclude people. And for us to provide, all of us to provide a well-qualified, motivated workforce so we can continue to feed that talent into the industry. So.
Dr. Theodore Johnson, Vice Chair of OBAP, another amazing organization. So Dr. Theodore is going to call him TJ. So TJ, tell us a little about yourself and this amazing organization.
Absolutely. Thanks, Rick. We appreciate the opportunity to be here. Thank you, RAA, for hosting this important conversation. Good afternoon to everybody. It's great to see you all. I'm Dr. Theodore Johnson, Vice Chair for the Organization of Black Aerospace Professionals, OBAP for short. That is a mouthful. Just signed for a second term because I'm a glutton for punishment. These roles are labors of love, but at OBAP, we're all about providing a qualified and diverse workforce through removing barriers and providing support and really refining the pathway from grade school up until the college age and even after, because we have a program called ADP, or sorry, we just renamed it as we're going through some changes that pairs older professionals, people who do career change, retire from the military, etc., with mentors in the field, so that way they don't fit within our collegiate programs or the collegiate age students, they still have a similar experience. We've been around for 50 years next year, so if you have not been to an OBAP conference, the 50th is one to come to. We are going to be in Chicago next year, so shameless plug. But we would love to have you, seriously. And we started in 1976, 13 people got together and recognized that there was not a lot of Black Americans in the cockpit. They decided to do something about it and formed OBAP. Back then it was called the Organization of Black Airline Pilots. And that name changed about 10 years ago to intentionally diversify the composition of who we were looking to attract in the industry. Since then, we made great strides in bringing on board more engineers, maintenance personnel, flight attendants, dispatchers, etc., and have continued to do that even at the board level by creating matrices and having more intentional programming that targets those different occupations outside of the professional pilot, which is the face of the industry. Nothing wrong with it. We know that it takes more than pilots and those in the tower to make airplanes fly and get people from place to place. The exposure piece we do through our three main programs. The ACE Academies, they were formerly called camps, but ACE Academies, which is Aerospace Career Education. We do those every year, post about 40 to 43 across the country. Airline professionals in schools, we have individuals that give their time across the country to go into schools from elementary up to high schools to present on what they do. And then we also have Explore Aerospace, which is a virtual programming that occurs every year to meet the students where they're at, because we know the digital divide exists. Sometimes people don't live around flight schools or airports, and they are trained in a curriculum for 6 to 12 weeks on a myriad of different aerospace-related topics.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. Okay, I'm just going to throw out some questions, and you guys can jump in. Some of them I'll point towards you specifically. But first off, most all of your organizations were founded with the primary focus of promoting, yes, diversity in flight deck, but specifically among pilots. It was really pilot-driven. Now, some of you are farther along in this transition. We're starting to see an expansion at some of your conferences for all aspects of aviation: pilots, technical operations, engineering, flight control, dispatch, in-flight management, etc. And you would say even ATC. And so, I mean, there's so much need in our industry, and we continue to need the qualified, amazing candidates that your conferences represent. How far along is your association in broadening the focus on the industry more as a whole, and what steps are you taking or have taken to promote and communicate this expansion and mission focus?
So for us, we started kind of easily right off the bat with that, just because on the military side we have so many different job areas in the military that are in aerospace. Obviously, we have not just pilots, but it's a very, very large group of maintainers, back shop workers, engineers, and so that was just kind of a natural outgrowth of what we did. And so then we've just kind of tried to develop more of those. I know several years ago, we kind of knew it was going to be, you always hear about these shortages in these different areas, but we hosted one of our conventions down in Enterprise, Alabama, which is where Army, nobody's ever heard of that, that's where Army Flight School is at. But the Allegiant came, and Allegiant didn't need pilots at the time, but they needed maintainers, and they hired 30 maintainers at the event. So that's when, and that was 2019, and that was the outgrowth of, wow, we really need to make sure that we're focusing on letting people know that we have this capability. But not only that, I think it's a lot of education as well on all of our membership groups, because pilots tend to be that heavy focus as, hey, we have all of these other companies and places that are interested in what you bring to the table right now. So much so that there's companies that are coming and offering, they'll pay for an A&P transition for a military member, they'll pay. So there's lots of opportunities out there, and so we've been really heavily, there's like email campaigns and our social media saying, hey, maintainers, hey, pilot, if you're coming, our job for you is grab 3 of your backseaters or grab some of your maintainers to bring them in, because they're really needed, and those are actually really high quality jobs as well.
You know, when I'm at your conferences, predominantly 70% of the folks, 80 maybe even pushing or more, is pilots looking for positions, right? But how do we increase, I'm just expanding the question a little bit here, how do we increase where there's more of those technicians or dispatcher types attaching to those schools and so forth that are going to get them to come into your conferences, come into your organizations, to broaden that representation? Because we're looking for all of those folks. And we bring, I know I see a lot, Lynda, I'm going to jump to you for a second, because I do see a lot of a total mix. I would probably say it's most balanced that I've noticed is that women in aviation. Can you tell us how you've grown that and how you promote that?
Right, so our membership also started as pilots, mainly pilots, but we're only 40% pilots in our membership. So we have, a large mix of different professions. And we're very conscious about ensuring that we provide something for all these different areas and functions. So like at a conference, we have education sessions. We have a full day and a half of educational sessions and presentations. And we consciously ensure that we are hitting on the areas like a tech ops education sessions, sessions that will focus on dispatchers. So we're very conscious about making sure that we're keeping it mixed up at our conference. Also in our outreach and our communications, we have all sorts of communication vehicles, digital newsletters, we have a magazine. We just launched a series of podcasts where we highlight women in all these various different functions. One of the missions that we have, especially when we're talking to young girls, is if you see it, you can be it, and you can do anything. So we open them up to all different types of functions within the aviation industry. Girls in Aviation Day, the one I went to last year, which is at a local regional airport in the Chicago area, we had air traffic controllers that came in and they had a map on the floor, like a carpet map, and it was a game for the girls to play where they were actually using cards and the girls had to run the airplanes around and make sure they didn't hit each other when they were on the ground. So it's things like that, sparking the imagination and sparking the interest, but also very conscious outreach in how we communicate and also who we reach out to for supporters. So there's work to do because we think about airlines, you think about the manufacturers, you think about maybe the air traffic controllers. But I look at all of you here today, there's manufacturers, there's component manufacturers, all the regional airlines. Now, you heard me ask that question about outsourcing earlier this morning. Airport ground handlers. I mean, there's all sorts of different adjacent supportive industries too that we want to ensure that we know about, and we do outreach to those companies as well.
No, and I see it alive and well at all of your organizations, and I see that expanding, and it's just an opportunity because all of us in the industry, and I'm talking even beyond the airlines, because I'm hopefully introducing our important supporters, our OEMs and our suppliers and our MROs who need industry talent. This is a very fruitful, fertile area to find amazing talent in these associations. And there are a couple more that aren't even represented here. I want to move on to another quick question. I'm going to start with TJ, with you on this one, because it's about mentorship. And what stood out to me, and I see this at all of your associations and your conferences, by the way, but at yours, I have found it was amazing to me how mentorship is alive and well, where there'd be a pilot or a mechanic or a member of OBAP standing there just circled with 10 or 15 young aspiring aviators, and they're asking, okay, what questions are you going to ask when you get in there? What are you going to do? And they're just giving them, sort of preparing them to go to battle in the exhibit hall and talk to airlines and things like that. And it's so important for us to plant seeds early, and then to help someone realize they can achieve this position in industry early in life. And then your organizations like yours, like OBAP and all these up here, you then nurture that interest in aviation, right? So therefore, you're inspiring people at a young age and making them realize they can be part of this industry, that they belong, that we're here for them as well. So how does your association, and all of yours, I'm going to start with TJ, how's your association introducing these opportunities and the reality of achieving this successful career in aviation to youth and their families in these underrepresented groups throughout our community, our country? And once you have that pipeline of interest for future aviators, what role does mentorship and other means of support play as you shepherd them sort of through their journey?
Appreciate the question, Rick. So mentorship is really at the linchpin of our organization. It really starts with these individuals who have these different titles in the industry. They come back and they come to OBAP to mentor and know that they're going to give their time into work. And because they come with that approach, that humility and that relatability, you have individuals who are college age and even younger that come that know they can approach these people and have their time, undivided attention, and walk away with the contact and know that they're going to get a response and not just email out or text us out in the ether somewhere. So that part is solely on the member giving back, and we have a lot of those, fortunately. I would say more programmatically, it's through our Ascension program, which is aimed for our collegiate series. But we recently restructured it and assigned every collegiate program that we have with a mentor. Typically, that person is an alumni of the program. However, that's not always the case, and we usually assign two for redundancy. But those individuals remain in constant contact with the collegiate members, so that way, whatever they're doing through the semester, they can remain in contact, up to date with industry trends, and just get support. But also during the conference, they can have a physical check-in. And at that point, they're able to essentially coalesce their relationship, deepen the relationship, and then introduce new members who a lot of times are their first time in aviation and in OBAP with this mentor, and now they have a mentor, so it creates kind of like a branch effect. Additionally, I mentioned our professional program that is service for the older professionals or the transitioning professionals. We have a mentorship piece built into there as well, because we were getting a lot of just questions at conference about, hey, I just recently retired or looking for a career change, but I don't know how. We all know aviation is vast. You do Google search, you probably can get a lot of stuff that leaves with more questions than answers. So we built that program into the professional development program for those individuals, so that way they were not left hanging in the lurch and could essentially give back once they were at their status and be the mentor that they needed or wanted for those coming through our organization.
I'll tell you, mentorship is so important, and I see it such alive and well at your associations, because the industry could be a daunting place. People don't know how to navigate it unless they have a mom or a dad or an uncle or a grandfather or a grandmother that was part of it. They don't know where to go or where to turn. So, and you guys just do an amazing job at all your organizations. It's so vibrant, and it's at the forefront. It's visible when you're there. Let me jump over to you. Same kind of question, but you obviously do mentorship as people are entering. But you also do a lot of focus within your organization while you're in the industry and you're getting more support. They turn to you for other types of advocacy and support. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Sure, yeah. And I will echo your sentiment, Rick. OBAP, I think you all do a phenomenal job at your mentorship. It's clearly part of your DNA and the culture. Before I had this seat, I used to say, if we could just get, one association that was like OBAP that had a great mentorship, one Aviation that had a great conference, and I'll plug my own NGPA that does great networking. Sorry, Josh, you didn't exist when I made this. It would just be a really rock solid conference. So just kudos to TJ for the mentorship program. But thanks, Rick. It is something that I think is uniquely in GPA, that our mentorship is a lifelong mentorship. I was a first-generation college student, and I was first-generation in aviation as well. And something as basic as getting a medical was something I had no idea how to navigate that process. And fortunately for me, I went through the medical process, unscathed. It was easy breezy. We have a lot of members who have some specific individual nuances that take a lot of it takes a lot of know-how to navigate the system to be able to do it not just effectively, but in a reasonable time frame. So we have a lot of members who donate their time to help our members get through just simple things like the medical process or navigating what life like is on the line. Maybe moving out of what was the comfort collegiate bubble that is beautiful and perfect in most instances, and out into the quote real world, and what does that look like, and how do I navigate different processes at the the professional level, and then with just day-to-day life struggles. We all wake up with a different mindset, and what does that look like, and how can we help keep people engaged, keep the industry safe, and keep growing the circle. So yeah, our mentorship certainly focuses beyond just career oriented type of relationships, and really bonds as a family. For a lot of us, our family is the organization, and especially in an industry like aviation, where it is so tight knit and something that we all love so dearly, it just really makes sense to blend those two together.
Excellent. Yes, you want to jump in?
I just want to add one thing. I maybe think of something. I already talked about our mentorship program. We do have a program set up, but it also goes to parents of young people. Just a quick story. There was a tradesperson who was doing some work around our house, and I guess he was talking to my husband. My husband told him what I do for a living, and he approached me and he said, "My daughter really is interested in aviation. I have no idea how to lead her, what to tell her, what she should do. Can you help her out?" And we immediately got her, connected into the organization. So we also help too with parents, and even grandparents have approached us, like we were in Oshkosh, and grandparents will come up and say, "I really want my daughter, she's interested, and can you help us out?" And so mentorship even reaches into those corners as well.
It's so necessary, and I think the associations that you all lead, as well as the other ones that are out there, provide such important service to our industry, our broad industry, and we need to be part of that as well as an industry. But you are doing a lot of the heavy lifting, and we so appreciate that. So the airline industry at your conference is well represented. I don't think there's any airline that I've ever seen really not there. It's like the place to be at all your conferences. We know there's talent, so we're there. So I'm going to broaden my question a little bit, because I'm now going to open it up to, we have a lot of very key industry people that make our industry a reality through the amazing products that they develop and they design, and supporting our products and making them better and making them have a long, valuable life for us. So these are the intrinsic leaders of our industry here. And while the industry is well represented, how do you see, other than beyond us being there, just writing a check and getting a sponsor, which is important, I know, but how do you see your association partnering with industry beyond your conference? What are there opportunities that you believe exist to enrich that partnership to create a more successful, progressive relationship with industry, while also fostering professional opportunities and success for your membership and your association?
Culture is really important. That's not going away. People have always been interested in what does the company that I'm potentially going to work for believe in, what are their values, and can I see myself fulfilling and finding a home in that company. And so I think I see organizations like ours playing a critical role, almost as, for lack of better words, your mold, if you will, as that feedback, that two-way feedback mechanism from employees to management and what's really going on. I used to be part of a team that ran an employee engagement survey, and you get some feedback there, and you hope that you can really get something in there that you can sink your teeth into, but you're only going to be so honest with some place that's paying your mortgage, right? Those barriers come down when I'm having those conversations with those same employees. And I've had the fortunate opportunity numerous times to be in a position where I can be the neutral party between what's going on at, whether it's employer or even educational, the institutional level, and the stakeholder. And to understand, hey, this is what they're trying to tell you, and this is what they're trying to say to you back and forth. That's really, I think, the secret sauce for partnering with organizations like ours is we are your ally just as much as we want you to be our ally. We're talking to the same people, and so we can engage and have the same conversation and help break down some of those barriers and really get to the heart of what we need to be focusing on, which is how do we maintain the safest air traffic system in the world? How do we maintain commerce? And how do we keep building the workforce into this industry so that everyone flourishes?
I think our side of it is, we have, interestingly enough, these government mandated transition assistance programs, which are great. They're basically the military giving you transition assistance to get out of the organization they want to keep you in. So you can imagine the effort they put into those government mandated programs, which is one of the things that we do. So we've created our own transition assistance, but we do it once a year. So we have all of these same people. But what you find, I know when I went through transition, what you find is a lot of it's for people who maybe only spent a couple years in the military. They're talking about, well, here's how you do a budget for somebody who spent 17 years active duty in the military as an officer, and there's no, it's like, well, McDonald's is hiring, or Blockbuster Video, take it back. What I see, great. What I do see a huge lack of is all of these high-level, mid-level jobs that are really would like to take advantage of veterans who have this experience. They're not in those transition assistance programs. And then when we talk to these companies, I'll use Embraer as an example if he's in here, but we partnered with Embraer a couple of years ago, and it was awesome because we gave them the resources of how to get into these transition assistance programs. So they're going to places like the 101st, who has one of the largest aviation units in the world, and going, oh, you have 15 people that are coming out, they're all already trained, already ANPs, already pilots, or already XYZ engineers. Why are we not going and grabbing that one? It costs them maybe $500 to grab a person that's going to bring so much value. And so that's one of the things that we are trying to do as well with the industry side. MHI or J, are you in here? They've come to our convention as well, but they've come and partnered, and same thing. SpaceX, you wouldn't think, but SpaceX hired 6 engineers out of our convention that just recently got out. Imagine if you could get through us, get into those transitions programs where you get them the day they're walking away from the military and give them a home that's super beneficial. It's a win-win for everybody.
And you've got to be there. You got to show up, and that opportunity is there. I obviously go to your conferences. I'm an active participant over the last 3 or 4 years, much to the displeasure of my team who I travel with to all these things. But from time to time, when I'm at these conferences, I see director level and some vice president leadership from other companies, from a number of airlines that attend. And usually that attendance by them is driven because they are in direct support of the people that they're recruiting, supporting their team, which I think is great. It's very, very important. But with few exceptions do I usually see an airline CEO or C-suite folks at your conferences and attending those events. And now I sort of like it that way, that I'm the only one there, because I'd love to put my secret out. But still, at this stage of career, I believe it's important for me and my company to promote the relevancy of my company, but also to promote this industry. And while our C-suite folks, both in the airline sector as well as the industry that supports aviation and supports airlines, our time's always limited, but it's important for us to be there and aspire if we can, but it's got to make sense. It's got to be valuable for us to be there. So first question to you, and anybody can grab this. If not, I'll pick you. First, do you believe it's valuable for a C-suite leadership person to be at your conference? And if so, what can you do to promote the opportunities that would make it valuable investment of time for them to attend, a portion, or to participate?
Can I brag on you for a second?
Sure, gosh, yes.
I just told this story over lunch. At our conference, which we just held last March in Denver, Colorado, I was speaking to a young lady, and she was a pilot, and she said that she was interviewing and she really wanted to work for GoJet. And I said, really? I said, so what makes you want to work for GoJet? She goes, the culture. She goes, you know, the CEO is here, and, you know, his team is here, and of course, karaoke night, I'm sure, was part of that as well. But,
We won't digress.
yeah, we won't digress into that. But she saw it matters. It really matters. I think a lot of C-suite and CEOs and senior executives don't realize just how much their presence means and how much it's noticed. You don't think it's noticed, it's just little old me that I'm here and I'm just moving around, it's a good thing that I'm here. But it gets noticed. It was obviously noticed by this young lady. She really wanted to go work for GoJet. She was holding out for them because that's where she wanted to work, because she saw, you know, that, you know, Rick was engaged, and there were people there from the company that were engaged, and, you know, we see it even more so in the younger, you know, generation, that it's not just a paycheck to them. They really want to work someplace where they feel like they belong, and they like the culture, and they want to be part of something. And so I think it's important that there is that engagement, because it
No,
noticed.
and we found it very, very valuable. I appreciate your kind words, Lynda, but I, even though I said I like being the only one there, you know, big fish, small pond, but I know that the amazing leaders we have in this industry that I have the pleasure of, all my friends, have a lot to give and a lot to offer, and they're very inspiring. How do we at these associations make it valuable for them to participate on a panel or to speak, or what do we do to be able to entice and say, yeah, it's worth me showing up for those 4 or 5 hours? What can you do that it brings them more into that? Because you have a set plan as to how you do your conferences a lot of way, and we've pushed you to do more branching out into panels and things like that to involve more folks talking. So what can you do more that would make one of my peers, both within the airline sector or the aviation broad sector, say, yeah, I need to, if they invite me, I would attend that because it's worth it.
Yeah, for us, we're having, like, one of the things we're doing this year is you're coming. Me and you are doing a panel too. So, shocker. We're making you sing karaoke, by the way. But we're doing specifically something that you're passionate about. We are specifically talking on our panel at RTAG this year about the importance that regionals play throughout the industry, and especially people coming in to the industry for the first time, whether it's a first time getting on the ground or in the flight deck. And so I think those things are understanding. So I think a lot of people, you know, they've heard of these other companies, or especially, you know, defense contracts and things like that. They don't understand what is all offered and the importance. And then the last thing that we talk to, when we talk to a lot of the C-suite folks, because it's not for lack of asking that we've all talked about, but you know, we've talked to them about somebody drives culture in your company. Somebody does. And do you want that to be your C-suite, or do you want that to be somebody else? And that's kind of what I tell all of them is, you know, I know for us, it's my job as the head of RTAG to drive that culture, and so we think that's probably the same way of other companies. So who's driving that culture for you? We get it. You probably can't go to 5, 6 conferences a year, but there's definitely a lot of value in coming, and I think coming to any one of ours that would be representation.
Well, I would welcome any of my peers to come. It's a good time, and it's eye-opening, because for those of us that are sort of, I'm not going to say the twilight completely of our career, we see that the industry is alive and well. Our future is strong through these organizations. So I would encourage you to try to participate. You know, one thing I would like to talk on, and I see this, and Lynda, it's going to initially probably put you on the spot, but I'd like to hear from one of the associations, but having advocates in what you do is important. It's crucial when you try to accomplish anything, or seeking assistance or guidance from individuals who might not be specifically by definition part of the group that you represent, right? They might not be. So having those advocates buy into your mission, participate, support, and assist in the furtherance of your mission, I would think it's important. And Lynda, at Women in Aviation International, you've taken this advocacy to a new level. I mean, you even have men in leadership roles, like on your board.
Yes.
You know, so obviously, Women in Aviation, you embrace that. So why is it important to you? What's the benefit that you see as a result from having the diversity within, like we want diversity within our industry, but you have diversity within your association and within your board. And then, so why is that important, and what benefits do you see from that?
So, first I'll say that our membership, we are Women in Aviation International, but 22% of our members are male. And we are very much about advocacy and about allyship. It's very important because, you know, if you're a woman and you're going into aviation, you're not walking into a boardroom or a flight deck or a tech ops center and a hangar, and they're not all going to be women there. It's going to be mostly men. And let's face it, we're still up, greatly underrepresented in the industry. So it's important that we have the male advocates, and that we look at diversity. It's not just male, female. We advocate full diversity within our organization, but it's important that you have those advocates and that we all are supporting one another and that our members see that. We have 2 males on our board. We have Art Roberts and Dawood, who is actually from West Africa. So we do, it's important for us for women and men to work together to support one another. None of us could do, any of our affiliate groups could do this all on our own. We're all in this as an aviation industry and an aviation family, and we have to support one another. And we want to be able to show that, this isn't just about us and them. We have to support one another. At the conference in Denver, just this past March, at one of our general sessions, we had a panel of male pilots that I moderated the panel, and we talked about what can all the men in the audience do to support their female colleagues in the industry. So it's important to have those conversations because that's the real world.
Well, and it takes all of us, right? It just takes all of us, and we need advocates, even in business. We all need advocates. So, and your associations as well. So, and you are promoting that advocacy throughout all the organizations as well. Any other comments on that maybe don't do it to the same degree as having like men on your women aviation board? Is there any other comments about that? Do you think that would be important? Is that something you're focused on at any of the other groups?
Absolutely. In OBAP, we do have non-black, non-minority members that serve on our board, that currently serve on our BOA. And we appreciate that because we recognize that there's a diversification perspective and thought, and also the fact that they are active sponsors and advocates for us behind closed doors, bridging gaps to give us opportunities that we may not be able to easily access or seize if not for them leveraging their networks and giving their time back and doing other things like that. That's at the national level. At the programmatic and collegiate level, there are many supporters and advocates that we have assisting in the collegiate spaces as well as at the local levels of the high school and middle schools. Brief anecdotal, as a doctoral student, Dr. Becky Moody, who we all, I'm quite sure know, have heard the name, helped me secure some grant funding to take myself and 7 students to our first OBAP conference. As a new doctoral student, everything was brand new, and I was nervous, didn't know I necessarily had to navigate the grant process, but she took time out of her schedule and her research, which she's heavily invested in, to be able to help me navigate to secure a grant to take other students. And that spoke volumes to me. So just a simple example of what that looks like at that level, and which has been amplified at the national level. So we absolutely encourage it, and we are always appreciative of those who kind of go out of their way to assist us in our mission, despite them maybe not looking the same or to be having a lot of experience in some of the spaces that we did.
Excellent. Got a couple quick rapid fires, one for each, real quick. I know we have one last question, then we'll open up for a few questions. Josh, should start with you at RTAG. Our industry benefits greatly from the military trained talent, and it's been a historical trend for us to get military talent within our companies. It's been, they elevate, they bring a lot of skills, disciplines that are very, very important. How do you ensure that these individuals are ready to start a civilian career in the aviation industry, and how important is that goal for your organization?
That's a really good question. One of the things that we do, kind of the mentorship as well, we call RTAG alumni, where we have a lot of people that are generally at kind of pinnacle, what we consider pinnacle in their careers, do a lot of giving back. But that was one of the things that was interesting to do in the military. We kind of cheat code a little bit. When we talk about diversity, we kind of do the cheat code a little bit because our only requisite is that you raise your right hand, right? So like everything else is, if you wore the uniform, we want you there, and so we get to cheat a little bit on the diversity stage. But that's so that's the huge deal was doing a conference that was all geared towards veterans. Not knowing, we learned very quickly on the first convention that we did that we probably could put out a dress code. And we probably could tell, flip-flops and a flower shirt is not probably the way to get your job at Delta Airlines. But we, that was the thing is that we just didn't know. I'll be very vulnerable and use my experience. So we're checklist people in the military, especially military aviation. And the first RTP interview I ever had was at Envoy Airlines. And so they sent me this list. I was the first or second person that they had sent out for a Rotary Transition Program interview. And they said, this is what you do, this is what you wear, this is all this stuff. Well, on that what you wear was not a tie. So it did not say wear a suit to your interview. So I did not wear a suit to my interview. I did not get the job either. I learned very quickly, right? But I had a great conversation with the people at Envoy saying, hey, if you send this out to military people, they're going to follow this to the letter of what you told them to do, because that's what you told them to do. We're really good at that. And so we kind of did it both ways of telling the airlines how to speak military to get your best qualified candidates. But then for us, we've spent time, we send out all of our attendees, we send out 4 emails, and it's everything for what to wear, how to help yourself prep, how to get ready, just very simple. Don't show up with a beard. We have a lot of special operations people that's what they've been wearing for the last couple of years, and they show up with a beard, and the airline pilots look across them like, oh, okay, we don't wear beards here. And so it's a huge way to speak. And then one of the things we talk about is we've partnered with a bunch of other industry people that do interview prep, and we've educated them a little bit about how to tweak these military language, stop using acronyms, stop using things that nobody understands how to use. And then we also, in turn, have been educating a lot of the airlines and the aviation folks that if you hear this acronym, give them a break. It's something that's used, and we've given them cheat sheets. So for us, it's about getting the word out, understanding the people that we are serving, right? We're serving the veteran community. And making sure that they have the tools in their hand ready to rock the first day when they show up.
What a valuable resource. That's great. That's great. Justin, NGPA, I got to tell you, your mantra seems a lot like my own. Work hard, play hard. You guys know how to throw a party. And you celebrate the industry, when you're all together. And I think that's important. We all don't do that enough. We need to celebrate the industry like we did in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s. But anyway, it's so apparent at NGPA that you've been very instrumental in building this very visible and inclusive LGBTQ plus professionals group, and they feel very much a part of it. How does your organization ensure that it presents itself as inclusive to all people in our industry, right? While acting to support the network of those that are already within the industry as well?
Sure, yeah. Thank you. I'm glad that you see our conference as equally playing hard as your work. We try. A lot can be learned when you sit down with someone and enjoy a drink and share a dessert. Have lunch with somebody. It's just really not that hard to understand somebody else's perspective when you can get rid of all of the noise. And so I think what has really made our networking events so successful is really understanding that, we can get a lot of stuff done during the day and we can wear our ties. I'm glad to learn how to wear a tie. But at the end of the day, we can take these off and we can really get down to the nitty-gritty of things and really understand what makes each other tick, what is top of mind, what's going on your day-to-day. And so our networking events, we feel like we run a really great expo where we can get 2,500 people from every color of the rainbow and beyond and have a great time. But we think the real work gets done when we are at our 900 plus person receptions in the evenings. And we're getting to learn about not just pilots, but we're getting to learn about, nonprofit professionals and what's this pipeline looking like. And, oh, you just moved here? Well, I've got a couple of people that I know in that area, and let me help get you connected with the community. And so, yeah, the networking events for us are really baked into the DNA and our success as an organization. We're very first and foremost a member-focused organization, and so these receptions are really a nice time for members to connect with their chief pilots or their higher-ups or their senior leaderships, and just see people as people. It's just really as basic as that.
Excellent. Lynda and TJ, I had a question. You guys were so good at answering your questions. You've eaten up my other question I had for you. So I'm going to jump to the closing question because I'm watching my timeline and I have, just a few minutes left. Because I'd like to see if there's any questions in the room. But this is a closing question. In this room, you have a lot of airline CEOs, chief operating officers, a lot of C-suite professionals. Not just from the airline industry, but also founders and presidents of other industries that support the airline industry, that support the airlines themselves, I guess I should say, because they're part of our airline industry. So some of these folks in this room are probably being introduced to your organizations, for the very first time today. The airlines, not so much, because we go to your conferences. So my question to you would be, if you would have the time to sit with them one-on-one, and you're going to get a chance to ask them a question or give you your ask about how they can better support your association and what value you can bring to their companies, which ultimately leads to broader success and the broader health of our industry as a whole, what would that ask or question be? And I'll start with you, Lynda, since I already got those two questions. So I'll start with you. What would that ask or question be? Because a lot of them are in this room, so you're talking to them as a group.
So I would actually turn the question around, and I want to know.
Well, of course you would.
What's your pain point? What's your pain point? Is it staffing? If it's staffing, in what areas? What are areas that you struggle with your talent pool? If you're looking at your 3 or 5 year strategy, what does that look like, and how can we, support you in turn you supporting us? It's a two-way street. We're here to support each other. We're all here with, again, we're all about the members, but we're all here in support of the future of this industry that we love so much. So how do we support each other in that? And, it's not only what we're faced with today, but I know you're all executives in here. I know you got 3, 5, maybe even a 10-year strategy looking out ahead, all the new emerging technologies that are coming out. And that, you're thinking ahead about what the future challenges would be. Have those conversations. Let's start now. And helping you to build and seed that future workforce and that future talent pool. That's what we're here for. We're here to open up the doors for anybody who has a passion for the industry. Because we all know when you come into the aviation airline industry, it's in your blood. We all have kerosene running through our blood. And once you're in it, you're in it. And we want to feed that passion, but we also need to know what programs do you need? What do you need in the future? So I'd say it would be a two-way conversation.
Agreed. TJ, what would you say about that?
I definitely echo Lynda's sentiments, but I would ask you all to invest in the workforce, whether that be sponsorships or scholarships, for 1 or many years. Come to our conference and just get a feel for what OBAP is, who we are, what we do. Meet some of the individuals that will be in your cockpits, in your maintenance facilities, things like that, and just see the talent that will flow through your doors. And I will say the talent is experience from A to Z, because we have a lot of our members who are aviation professionals, but also they have come from different fields and they have a passion for aviation and want to be involved with it. So show up and come enjoy OBAP. And personally, as Vice Chair, I invite you all to come to our 50th next year. If there is ever a time to come to really see what OBAP is and make the determination of how you want to get involved and when, next year will be the time, especially since we're located in Chicago.
And they have fun too, Western Idols, right? And carry
It messed up my hair, though. Gosh.
I think the biggest thing is we talk about, you're going to hear the word outsourcing. You've heard that so many times, right? There's a bell curve of financial investment that when sometimes your time is worth less than your money, right? So we all use outsourcing on all things. We have 4 people sitting up here that have organizations that are the experts in what we do. So if you're looking to invest in the future in each of those things, it's a really easy outsource to say, hey, do we have a conversation with you all about what's going on in your realm? We're looking to have, you know, these conversations with people all the way down to grade school level. What does that look like? And I know me personally, I think everybody here would be absolutely happy to have that conversation about how we can look to what your company looks like in the future with all of our expertise and investment in what we're doing and bringing that up all the way again from like young kids all the way through so that we're looking at pipelines for people that are coming into. Because that is one of the things that you know, the industries, especially a lot of heavy trade industries that do fall into aviation, they struggle to find people, and I think that's just an education piece now all the way down to those jobs are great, and there's a lot of opportunity, and how do we help you meet the needs that you have in the next 5 to 10 years using our expertise.
Excellent. Justin, I'll give you a chance to answer that question.
Oh gosh, well, I don't want to echo what everyone else said, so yeah, whatever all the other 3 said, but also enforce policies that you have on your books. You know, companies do all have really great policies and procedures, but sometimes we hear from members that they're maybe cherry picked, or you know, yeah, we've got this pathway, but the company doesn't so much. You know, the policy is only as powerful as the enforcement mechanism behind it. And if you are struggling with understanding, you know, how to enforce something like that, that's where, like I said earlier, partner with us. We'd love to have that conversation on your behalf with our members, because trust me, anytime anything changes, you know, I just learned of a formulary change, of a prescription formulary change on health insurance. I went to pilot school, guys. Like they didn't teach us formulary stuff, but now I'm engaged in those kind of conversations. You know, and advocating on you know, the behalf of both sides. So just in short, we're partners. The partnership is 2 ways.
Well, that's clearly what I got from all your answers, is that it is a partnership, and obviously what you do is very important. I've got like 2 minutes left on my little timer. If there's any questions in the room for this illustrious group, is there any questions? Okay, first I want to say thank you guys so much for being a viable part and a very health-driven part of our industry. We depend on the work you do. You bring the most amazing talent for us to go fish in your ponds at your conference, and you support us in ways that you probably don't even realize, and we value your partnership, and we hope to expand that, and hopefully we've introduced you more to the broader industry as a whole here today. So thank you so much for your participation in this category. Fortunately, our world's one that's blessed.